I struggled in 2015. I was worried and anxious because my father had been hospitalized for nearly a year. Despite my other duties, I visited him in the hospital virtually every day, even though we hired a carer. His declining condition in the hospital bed was distressing to observe. I still remember the sad mood when I entered the hospital. I often smelt medications and disinfectants in my father's hospital room. I kept my cool with my father because I knew he needed me to give him hope and comfort. I felt powerless because I could only support him at this terrible time and not improve his condition. The hospital room seemed tense and heavy when I returned one day. My father's pale complexion and feeble breathing showed that he was losing his life. I softly held his hand as I approached the bed. He tried to smile at me, a smile full of love that deepened my anguish. I knew his death was imminent. Hospital room seemed to freeze time. Dad closed his eyes as his breathing faded and stopped. I sat by his bed, refusing to comprehend his death. I planned my father's funeral alone as his only child. I struggled financially and emotionally after his death. Long ago, I'd lost sleep at night. After my father's death, I regularly fantasized about him. These dreams showed him as a child and as he smiled for the last time. I felt confused about these dreams. My life improved a year later. My partner and I were working hard to reach our goals in life. I had 2 jobs and lived a busy life every day. I had little time to unwind. Working late was common at the time. Such efforts eventually wore me down. One day, exhausted from work, I crashed at home. I was surrounded by serene light while unconscious. An overpowering warmth surrounded me. I looked at my translucent white hand, which radiated a faint white light from above my torso. My upper half looked like a human, but when I looked down, I saw a tail instead of legs. The surface of this long, thin, delicate tail glows. As I hovered above my body, I felt a particular power, like I had combined with a secret force. I wondered if I could travel through the ceiling. I tried it and steadily rose. I encountered some resistance in the attic, but I kept climbing. A tearful woman sat in the attic when I arrived. Our forms were alike. Despite not knowing who she was, I knew she was grieving. I felt compassion. I could talk to her mentally. She said she couldn't get home. I told her, we'll get home. Sometimes we become lost, but we shouldn't give up. Together we can search our surroundings for clues and directions to get you home. Please leave with me. She stopped crying. I softly offered my hand and invited her out of the attic. We overtook the city. My view of the city was different from reality, and the colors were more brilliant and alive. Every color shone. The sky was bluer and the trees were greener. Everything was brightly colored, making the city lovely. Humans were busy like ants, and city cars moved like insects. Colorful automobiles were available. City energy was high. While over a hospital, an old man appeared. He flew towards us in medical clothes. We welcomed him. He was smiling as he told us he had died of lung cancer and was returning to his other world. I requested the old man to take us. My partner wanted to go home too. The old man grinned and nodded, offering to transport us to his destination. This home belongs to all souls, he said. The old man led us as we flew. We discussed our feelings and experiences with the old man during the flight. He was a workaholic and always wanted career achievement, the old man said. He focused on work to advance his status and success. He realized at the end of his life that his job accomplishments were meaningless. Having neglected his family and health, he regretted it. The stress of his job made him addicted to smoking. He was 71 when he got lung cancer. Our old man sighed and professed his guilt. Family and physical and mental health are the most essential things in life. An enormous archway emerged in front of us. The brilliant entrance seemed to lead to happiness. The air was warm as we neared this door. Old man paused and said, "Thank God." He looked at the door. "That I can stay here." Some of the old man's relatives were at the entrance, excited and happy. They looked at the old man lovingly. His relatives hugged after the old man smiled and walked towards them. After saying goodbye, he and his family entered. I realized my companion was frustrated. Suddenly, an old man approached. The lady roared with excitement and cried with joy when she saw him. He was her grandfather. They stared at each other, beaming. They hugged tightly. Her grandfather waved and invited me in. That door's contents intrigued me. An angel arrived as I was ready to enter the door after I accepted their invitation. The angel told me, "Your name is in the book of life, but now is not the time to enter. You must finish your mission. Please return to Earth and continue your life." Lost and confused, I was. The woman and her grandfather caught my attention. Her grandfather smiled at me as she nodded in agreement. I asked the angel, "Can I see my dad? He died a year ago." The angel said, "I can't grant that wish. You should know that your father is doing well and pain-free. Heaven gives him infinite peace and contentment. I cannot give your want to meet him now, but we will soon. I know my father is doing well in heaven, even if I cannot see him." Another angel approached us at this moment. Her arm was softly stretched as she smiled. She advised me to return. I grabbed her hand and prepared to return to reality. While following the angel, I felt my body lighten and span space and time. I felt warm energy, like invisible hands were leading me. I felt like a soft cloud was caressing me. This aura made me feel relaxed. My connection to the material world began. I breathed as if I had life again. The sounds and light around me got clearer. Finally, I felt a low vibration like electricity had entered my body. This energy faded, and I returned to my body. When I woke up, I was in a familiar bed. I breathed deeply and appreciated my surroundings. This event changed my life perspective. No matter how well I do in my work, my family and health are most essential. I remember what the old man said when I'm stressed. I started practicing better habits and giving up bad habits. I took care of my physique to have more energy for my family and true dreams and pleasure. After 5 years, this episode is a treasured memory. My girlfriend, now my wife, and I had a child 3 years ago. We're happy in our rented flat. Over time, we've learned the value of family and mutual understanding and support. We now value family over stuff. We value our family time because we value time. We make great memories in our leased cabin. We know that emotional intimacy and closeness bring happiness, not wealth. With love and devotion, we run our family. The previous 5 years have made me a better spouse and father. I prioritize my family, spend more time with them, and live in limitless love and happiness. We shared many amazing moments. When I see my family smiling, I realize that elderly man's words altered my life.